Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Natalia Solis Miranda, your host and moderator for today, and part of the Logistics and Outreach subteam of the ECOPS program Training and Mentoring Task Team. For those recently becoming familiar with the Early Career Ocean Professional Network, it is a program that at the heart of the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development and was endorsed by the UN Ocean Decade as a network program in 2021. Our mission is to elevate and strengthen the diverse perspective of new generations of ocean professionals through a collective voice, ensuring that knowledge is transferred between experienced and early career ocean professionals to promote ocean sustainability for the ocean we want. As part of the knowledge that we want to share among professionals and future professionals, we develop a series of webinars that aim to inform and train this community of ocean lovers. And today we have an exciting and super interesting webinar. Our episode 14 is dedicated to the seagrasses conservation and restoration in West Africa. Today, our speakers will give us the insights of the Resilient Seagrass project, which ran from 2018 until 2022, where research and protection was carried out for the first time in 7 countries in West Africa. Moreover, a separate innovative project on seagrass restoration in the Gambia was also launched in partnership with the UN Environmental Program. Today, we will learn the successes and challenges and the future outlook for seagrasses. I would like to remind our audience that you can write your questions or comments in the QA icon. It's above, or the chat. So before we continue, I would like to break the ice with the first poll to get to know better our participants. We're about to launch it. And we'll give 2 minutes for you to respond to these questions. One minute left. Thank you so much for all the ones who replied, and we will share our results. So let's see, are you an ECOP? Well, yeah, 69% of the people replied that yes. Thank you. This is our main objective and purpose to inform you. Where are you based? Well, West Africa and Europe. Most of the people replied from these areas. And how did you hear about the webinar? We have seen that mainly from social media. Well, social media is our main way to communicate these things, and we appreciate that you're also getting to know this information and being part of everything that we're doing. Thank you. And to continue, we're going to present our first speaker, Marco Vinaccia. Marco holds an arts degree in international relations from the United States International University in Nairobi and is currently pursuing his master's in environmental management at the University of London. Marco leads the scientific research and monitoring strategy of the Resilient Sea project and also the global communications for the Mami Wata project. He collaborates closely with pilot countries around the reports for some assessments and the EVSA's framework and maritime special planning. Marco, please. Thank you for joining us and accept our invitation. You can share your screen.
Thank you so much, Natalia, and thank you to everyone who's attending. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Grid Arendal, and I'm so happy to be presenting to you. So let's see. And let me know once you can see my screen.
We can see it.
I can start the presentation. Great. So before I start talking to you about seagrass in West Africa, I'd like to tell you a bit about Grid Arendal. So that's the organization I work with. I've been here for more than 5 years now as a climate change expert. And we are based in Norway. We're a foundation, Norwegian foundation, funded mainly by the Norwegian government. And we work in partnership with UNEP in Nairobi. We specialize in transforming complex scientific information into simpler communication products. So we're a communication center, mainly about environmental issues. And we have 4 programs: the Marine Environment Program, of which I'm part of, Polar and Climate Program. We have a Waste and Marine Litter Program, as well as transboundary governance and environmental crime. So we cover quite a big array of issues and challenges around the world. So that's Grid Arendal in a nutshell. We chose to present about resiliency, even though it's a project that has, it's been over for now a year. The projects that we're working on now that started last year, I think they're still at an early stage where not enough results are there to be shared. So maybe next year we'll be able to share more. But I think this is a project that ended, and we're excited about the results. And here we go. So resiliency. So it's all about resilient seagrasses. If you don't know what seagrass is, it's a coastal ecosystem. It's present all over the world. Mostly in the tropics, but its extent goes quite in all latitudes. It's under threat, we know, with climate change and eutrophication and pollution, but it's such an important ecosystem, and it has many benefits, in terms of sediment. Keeping the sediment, fighting against coastal erosion, carbon sequestration. It provides nursery for fish. So it's a very important ecosystem, and it's a poorly known ecosystem, especially in West Africa. So what happened in 2018? The MAVA Foundation for Nature, based out in Switzerland, decided to invest 2.5 million euros over the next 5 years into 7 West African countries. Right, so all the way from Mauritania to Sierra Leone. I will show you a map later and you'll see the details. And the idea was to try to increase the knowledge about seagrass, this vital ecosystem in the area. We knew about seagrass in Mauritania for quite a few decades, and a bit in Cape Verde, and Senegal, but we wanted to increase the knowledge. The second point I'm going to make here is about partnership. So there's lots of partners, lots of logos. I think you are all aware about, the fact that you cannot achieve anything meaningful in this world without partners and working together. So that's something I want to highlight, is the fact that we had national implementation teams, we call them NITs, and there was a focal organization in each of the 7 countries. And you will hear my colleague Omar speak about the Gambia later. So he was the focal point for the Gambia, and he represented the departments for Parks and Wildlife Management in the Gambia. I think you can see their logo here on the bottom right. And there's lots of other partners, PNBA in Mauritania. Rampau is a regional network for marine protected areas in West Africa. This is GRID. EPA Sierra Leone, Centre de Suivi Écologique in Senegal. This is in Guinea, SIPA in Guinea-Bissau. So there were 7 countries represented, lots of partners. So the way the project was organized was around 4 strategies. So the first strategy was about research and monitoring. So trying to gather more information about, the distribution of seagrass in the country. So we chose pilot sites, and we started getting teams together, international experts, as well as locals, to go to these sites. So because the knowledge of seagrass was quite limited in 2018, we started with capacity building. So we had some regional workshops as well as national workshops to train and build capacity of the local managers and experts around this vital ecosystem. And once we were able to train them, we all went out in the field, did some sampling, went regularly to monitor how healthy the seagrass extent was, and so that was the second big strategy was the capacity building. Then we had communication products. We're trying to raise awareness with the global public, with the civil society, with the local communities, why this ecosystem is important for the fisher folk communities in the area. Maybe they can change their behavior in terms of when they're going in their boats and they have the propellers going at low tide. That is destroying the seagrass. So there were different communication products aimed at that, as well as some videos, and I will show you a video a bit later. And so that was the third big strategy, was communication. And finally, we had a lot of work on policy. So how can we change policies at national levels as well as regional levels? And I will tell you a bit more about that later. In terms of our methodology, as I said, we had this capacity building and the trainings, and then we went to the field. So there were 7 pilot projects. I'm not going to go into the detail of each countries. We have Omar from the Gambia who will talk specifically about the Gambia. What I would like to do is to show you a video about a colleague in Sierra Leone discovering seagrass there. So I'll just stop sharing the presentation and then go to the video, and let's see. Hopefully this works.
I'm Melissa Ekra Indu. I work with the Environment Protection Agency, Sierra Leone, and I'm a senior environment officer attached to the Natural Resource Management Department. So we are going to Turtle Island to explore for some seagrass. So we want to see if we can get some seagrass on that side and use it as a pilot for the Resiliency project. Very, very excited to visit that part of the Turtle Island because I haven't been there before, and I'm very excited also, and I hope we find some seagrass.
I'm a biologist by background, but since my bachelor's thesis, the topic of interest has always been seagrasses. I joined Grid Arendelle, and 1 year after we were successful in getting this project, that is a dream for all the seagrass scientists out there, because West Africa is one of the least studied regions globally on seagrasses. And with this project, what we're aiming is to put the seagrass on the West African map and then on the global seagrass map. I'm gonna go in from this side, okay? So nice, huh? Actually, me being here, it makes me feel very happy and like a seagrass explorer in a way.
The workshop started on Monday. We brought together stakeholders working in the marine sector, all in one room.
So we know that seagrasses are here, but we don't know where are they. That's why there is.
We got trainers and they were educated on seagrass. Firstly, how to identify seagrass, the different types of species, why it's important for us to actually conserve their habitats. So during the course of the 3 days, we interacted on that level. So after that, we had a smaller team. We weren't sure if we had seagrass at all. And on our way, well, luckily for us, just a mishap. So Maria is confirming.
Yeah. With my
then-
guy, I said I still.
It's over there as well.
There, indeed. Is it? Well,
It's here! Gotta have the camera!
And then we found seagrass. We're sure now, we're certain that we have seagrass, and we've all learned that it's important for us to at least conserve this. So what do we do next? Where do we go from now? Maria, you went looking, it's all over.
It's all over here.
It's all over.
What species is that?
What is it? Whitey? Whitey?
Haloduli?
And it's so beautiful. You can see it. It's everywhere.
It's over, yeah.
The next step we have to do is to do a thorough mapping wherein we know the extent of the seagrass. And then after the mapping, when the maps have been prepared, then we try to start the monitoring, how to protect those areas. This has been exciting. I think this has already given us the courage for us to go out again to find other areas that we can identify seagrass, because in as much as we've identified this area, we just feel that there must be other areas that also have deposits of seagrass.
Oh, I feel so excited. So excited. Wow. It has been very educative and it has been very interesting journey, because I was selected and I didn't have anything in mind about seagrass. I was zero. I had no knowledge on everything. Here I am, and we've discovered seagrass in Sierra Leone.
All right, let's start again. So here we are. I wanted to show you this video because I think the emotion that Melissa felt when she officially discovered seagrass for the first time in her country. I don't know about you guys, but it moves me. And I just think it's a nice video. Yeah, that shows the importance of emotion. When we talk about these precious ecosystems that we're trying to protect, it's not just, you know, we talk about data and very dry things, dry numbers, but we have to remember that, you know, the biodiversity that we depend upon, and that emotional connection, that emotional link. So there you go. That was an example of, you know, some of the experts going in the field and finding seagrass. So officially in Guinea and Sierra Leone, thanks to the project, we identified and discovered seagrass in those two countries. The other countries already had some sense of some presence in some of the pilot sites. All right, moving on. I'll just show you, this is a snapshot from our atlas. So I've shared a few links with Natalia that maybe she will share to the group later. But basically, we published an atlas that you can go and look at if you're interested in seagrass in any of those countries. But here you can see basically the 7 countries. So we've got Mauritania, Senegal, Cabo Verde, the Gambia, which Omar will talk about later, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. And as you can see, Guinea and Sierra Leone at the time of the Atlas was very, the confirmed seagrass presence was very little, We're just at the beginning of this process. For those who know a bit about seagrass, we have many different species. In West Africa, we have 3 species, Simodosa anodosa, Haloduli wrighti, which is the one that Melissa discovered. It's the one that's present in Sierra Leone, and Zostera nolte. Okay, so the only countries that have the 3 of them are Mauritania and Senegal. The Gambia has 2. There's another species called Rupia maritima, but there's a whole debate among seagrass experts whether it's really seagrass, because it's a species that grows also in brine and brackish water, and so therefore it's not just depending on seawater, salt water. So that being said, here are the species you can find in West Africa. Now the key results. So one of the things we did find was that, so of course there's some results that are important for the region, but then some results have a global perspective. And so in terms of the global perspective, Zostera nolte, one of the species that was present in the region, we thought its global southernmost point was in Mauritania, in the Parc National du Banc d'Arguin. Thanks to this project, we found that Zostera nolte was present even more to the south, so in the Saloum Delta National Park. And so that's a discovery of global importance in terms of lowering the southernmost point of this species. So now the extent of this species has increased, and that's a finding of quite important significance. We have also some results. I explained all the results about discovering seagrass for the first time in Sierra Leone and Guinea. Wait, the presentation is not carrying through. We have also some results in terms of policy management. So the 2 ones that I would like to mention are that seagrass protection was included in the marine protected areas management plan of 4 countries. So I believe it's Mauritania, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and is it the Gambia? I'm not sure. But basically, a lot of these pilot sites were already marine protected areas, but because they didn't know about the extent of seagrass that was in those areas, it wasn't even, there was no strategy about managing it or protecting it. Thanks to this project, the protection of the seagrass ecosystem in those marine protected areas is now part of the management plan. So there's actually monitoring happening and follow-up as part of that. The second policy result that we can be proud of is the inclusion of seagrass I think it's in Sierra Leone and Cabo Verde in their NDCs, so nationally determined contribution to the UNFCCC framework. And so what that means is a country includes seagrass in their NDCs, meaning that they are using it as a resource to sequester and store carbon, and meaning it is in their interest to protect it and to ensure that this carbon sequestration, natural capital, and nature-based solution can continue sequestering carbon in the future. So conservation-wise, it's very important. Let's see. Okay, another result was that we did economic valuation of the ecosystem services that are provided by seagrass. So this was done by the University of Portsmouth. This report is in French, unfortunately. I don't know how many of you speak French. This was done for Senegal, Cabo Verde, and Guinea-Bissau. In 2018, even before the project started, colleagues of the University of Portsmouth had done the same valuation for Mauritania. So the extent in Mauritania, the extent of seagrass is quite big. So there is some monetary evaluation that is of importance. Unfortunately, what the report has found, this is the one of the outcomes, is that the extent of seagrass in Senegal, it's quite extensive, but in Cabo Verde and Guinea-Bissau, the extent is too low to give real value in terms of, it's providing, this amount of fisheries. And so the dollar value that we're able to put on it is not as high as we would have anticipated and hoped. Finally, I'll talk about the distribution database that we created, and that was handled and managed by Centre de Suivi Écologique, the Center for Ecological Monitoring based in Senegal. And so you can go, there's a whole set of links that I've shared with Natalia. So if you're more interested, I hope she can share those, and you can find out more. Very quickly, I'll talk to you about the future outlook. So we're trying to continue the work. The work is continuing in the sense that we've built capacity, and these local experts and managers are continuing to go in the field, but it depends on means, So, going out in the field costs money, transportation, logistics, equipment, all of that. So we're hoping to get more funds to continue the work in those pilot countries, maybe increase, the pilot size and go to other places on the coast. The different countries are at different levels. So Mauritania has quite a lot of, they have decades worth of data and of knowledge. So they're, moving to the next step. They're going to do carbon coring and trying to see in the sediments how much carbon is actually stored. So they can also move with their NDC inclusion. So that's on their side. On the other side, you have maybe Guinea and Sierra Leone that are still taking the baby steps and trying to discover more seagrass and to monitor it. So that's what we're hoping for, is more research and more funds to continue this incredibly exciting research. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Marco, for all the insights and everything that you have shared with us. Something that I would like to recall is a sense of empowerment that is super important in the communities. Without that sense of empowerment, people will not realize the importance of the ecosystems that are surrounding us. And this is something that is very, very, very good to acknowledge. And also, we are happy to see that everything had succeeded very well. Right now we have Omar with us. Thank you, Omar. Before we start with Omar, I'm going to launch a second poll. Just give me 1 second. Because oh, sorry, I forgot something. If you have any questions, please, this is the time for you to make your questions or comments. I'm sure that all the information that Marco provided us was very clear. But anyways, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to also ask. And also, in the chat, I shared the links that Marco mentioned. So if you would like to see all the information that he shared with us, feel free to go for it. Now, with the second poll, we can start to launch it. It's to get, this is to know a little bit more about how you are involved with seagrasses and ocean sciences. So here we have the questions. There are 3 questions, and we're about to give just 2 or 3 minutes. So please, if you can answer them. There you go, the poll is moving. 30 seconds left. And we're about to end the poll and share the results. So here we have that. Are you involved in ocean science? 69% said yes, I'm a researcher, I work in ocean science. As I have been involved in conservation, marine science, and ocean sustainability. That's perfect, that's great. Then, have you been involved in seagrass restoration monitoring or research? 54% said yes, I am part of a project of restoration monitoring or research. And the third one, that's awesome. Do you know if there is any seagrass conservation restoration project where you live? 82% said, yes, I do. And only 9% said, no, there's no such effort. So I think this is an opportunity for you to encourage your community and start doing some effort. Thank you for all the participants to share your responses. And now we are going to introduce Omar Saneh. Omar acquired his master's degree in management and conservation of species in traits, CITES, at the International University of Andalusia in Spain. He is currently the head of research and development unit at the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. Omar is one of the leading regional seagrass champions due to his invaluable contribution to seagrass study and education across the sub-region. He pioneered the first ever community-led climate change solution program of seagrass restoration in the Gambia. Thank you so much, Omar, for accepting our invitation. And please feel free to start whenever you want. We can see the presentation and you're muted. There you go.
Okay, good afternoon, Natalia, and good afternoon to all the panelists and the participants for making this eco webinar. First of all, I have to apologize for breakdown in the network. I am currently at the hospital with my father. So the office where I was using, they have a patient in there. So they relocated me to another office. That's why I was cut off. But notwithstanding, I am here to do my presentation. Like Natalia said, I am Mr. Omar Saneh. I was the Resilient Sea focal point and also the coordinator of Banyamu Tanko projects. Banyamu Tanko project, basically, it is a seagrass restoration project. When we say Banyamu, it is a Mandinka word. That means conserving seagrasses. So I was the coordinator of the project as well as the resiliency project. So my presentation topics is the seagrass conservation and restoration in West Africa, a case study in the Gambia. So the presentation outlook is this introduction, seagrass restoration in the Gambia, key results and impact, challenges and threat, and of course the conclusion remarks. So seagrass restoration started in the Gambia way back in 2018 with the help of the Resilient Sea project. The Resilient Sea project is a sub-regional project at Marco Mensa, which was piloted in 7 different West African country, and Gambia was one of the countries that benefited in the Resilient Sea project. So during the implementation of the Resilient Sea project, each of these countries has a team comprised of different stakeholders referred to as the National Implementation Team. I was the lead of that National Implementation Team of the Gambia. So in this project, we were able to identify a seagrass pilot site in the country, and also we are able to discover some species of the seagrasses. So basically in the Gambia, we identified 3 major areas of seagrasses along our coastlines, which are in the Bijol Islands, Gunjur, and Katong. These are the 3 places where we identify so far as a seagrass sites. So in each of these sites, we were able to identify 2 major species of the seagrasses, which are the Halodilrhynchi and Cimodosia nodosa. But I have to say, in West Africa, only 3 species can possibly exist in West Africa. That is Halodilrhynchi, Cimodosia, and Zostera nolti. So out of these 3, Gambia was able to identify 2 species. Okay, so the Resilient Sea project, has been a success story in the West Africa in terms of seagrass and seagrass education and conservation. Before the project, there was no knowledge or no, education or no history or data about seagrass conservation in whatsoever in the Gambia here. Thanks to the efforts of the Resilient Sea project, we are able to know the seagrasses, and we are able to record few species of seagrasses over the period. So the success of that Resilient Sea project has paved way for the national implementation teams of the Gambia to go a step further to apply for a UNEP call for International Coral Reef Initiative call. We were able to get to be a beneficiary of that call, and then we launched the first ever seagrasses restoration program in the West Africa. Okay, so this seagrass restoration program is what we call the Banyamu Tango project. It is a Mandinka word, which simply means conserving seagrasses. So the main objective of this restoration program was to restore the degraded seagrasses area, in this pilot site, Gunjur, Bijol, and Kayatong. But the primary target was at the Gunjur area because of the level of degradation that is happening in the Gunjur. This is why our major intervention site was at Gunjuru area. So another objective of the Banyamu Tango was to enhance the ecosystem services provided by the seagrasses, including to improve the fisheries, improve the fisheries, the biodiversity, carbon sequestration, and coastal protection. Particularly the inhabitants of our coastline, their major livelihood is on the fisheries. So we deem it necessary, if we could enhance the conservation of the seagrasses and seagrass protection and conservation, we will enhance the livelihood of the community that are dependent on the fisheries, because we know that fish depends on the seagrasses. So another objective is to integrate the seagrasses conservation into our national and sectoral law. The department where I am working, Department of Parks and Wildlife Management, is the custodian of the natural resources. So with the help of this project, and of course with the resiliency, we were able to integrate the seagrasses conservation into our into the management plan of the protected area that we have the seagrasses site. So we also want this restoration to act as a model, so to be able to replicate and upscale in the other parts of the West Africa. That was our idea. When we piloted in the Gambia, we wanted it to be able to replicate and upscale into the other part of the West Africa, like the Resilient Sea. But due to the limited funding, we were unable to go to the next level. So the primary activity what we did was we first of all designed and implement the seagrass pilot restoration in the country. The major intervention area was in the Gunjur as a site. So we also held a training workshop. The technical training workshop we held to try to equip the national implementation team and also the capacity to be able to undergo.
Hello. Hi. There you go. We can see your, yes, you're muted. There you go.
Okay, I am back again. Sorry for that break. So another activity we did was to create a management network. So this management network comprises of the government institution, the state government stakeholder, the CBOs, that is the civil society organization, the local authority. At the village level, we have the village head, which we call the alcalos, and within the alcalos, we also have the village development committee. And then this village development committee, they have a chairman, a vice chairman, and so we brought all these important stakeholders together to have a management network. So this management network, by and large, will serve as a steering committee of the Banyamu Tanko, so that all these stakeholders will be participating in the implementation of the Banyamu Tanko project. Okay, and also with our other partners like the Alma Charity Foundation and the University of Eduardo Mundelin in Maputo. We also partner with these people to have a concerted effort towards the successful implementation of the BNT, that is Banyamu Tango project. We again developed a very strong communication, education, and public awareness strategy, which even still we are using in order to to reach out to the community people, to reach out to the many people as much as possible, to increase the seagrasses education and awareness, particularly at the grassroots level, because these people are the ones that are in close proximity with the seagrasses. So we develop this communication strategy in order to reach as much as possible. So in the implementation process, we have we do it in phases. The first phases was the pre-planning phases. In this pre-planning phase, we first of all identify which of these three sites is having a severe degradation. That we were able to determine Gunjur as a site which has a higher degradation. So we have Gunjur. We do the pre-planting program, that is to identify the degradation and also determine what are some of the factors responsible for the degradation of this particular site. And then when we determine do that assessment, we know the causes of the degradation, and then we can put a mitigation strategy, a mitigation plan to try to stop or try to reduce the rate of that level of that degradation happening at a particular site. So when we do that, and then we start the implementation processes, and then of course we have the monitoring and evaluation as part of the process. So the BNT project, what we do after the assessment of the three sites, Gunjur, Katong, and Bijoli, we identify this site. Now we are going to do the restoration. So if you can see the maps here, you will see that we do the identification and mapping of the donor and the restoration site. We identify the donor site because this is where we are going to get our stock from. We are going to identify which donor site is healthy enough to get the stock from, and then do the restoration, transfer the rest, the stock to the restoration site. So we do that map identification and mapping. So when we do that already, we conducted the technical training workshop as part of the key result. So this technical training workshop, as I said in my introduction, we conducted this in order to equip our national implementation team with knowledge and skill to undergo seagrass restoration, because it was a new phenomenon in the West Africa. So we know that seagrass restoration is a bit technical, so therefore we need to do a technical training. So we hire a trainer. We brought a trainer from Mozambique in the person of Salmao Bandera, who is very technical in the seagrass restoration. So we brought him to conduct the seagrass training, to conduct this technical training workshop. So after this technical training workshop, we also we did series of communication an outreach program. So you can see that this first picture you see here, it was at the national TV station, the Gambia Radio and Television Services. We had an airtime there in order to go and meet the public and then have a tete-a-tete discussion with the community people. We also went to the we conducted series of community radio sensitization, community outreach sensitization as part of the implementation of our education strategy, so that we can bring to the many people as much as possible. So we did that. Okay, so another key results that we did was the launching of the restoration proper. So in the restoration implementation of the restoration activity, what we do, after identification of the donor site, we collect the donor from the donor site and then we transplant it in. So in the restoration, we have two major types. That is the manual and the active and passive restoration. So in the active restoration, it is the mechanical process of restoration the seagrasses. So in the manual in this term, what we do was when we collect this the donor from the donor side, we see, depending on the nature or the situation at the site, we will know what type of restoration method we are going to use there. So you can see the pictures here. Some people are collecting the donors, and some people are collecting the donors from the donor side, and some people are doing the restoration. Okay, so another important key results is the continuous data generation. So we were able to generate new data with regards to the seagrasses restoration. We will present the data later. So we have a national implementation. These are some of the members of the national implementation. So every other month, for the whole period of the project, we were doing a monthly monitoring. So in this monthly monitoring, every month or other months, we are able to gather a new data set. So, okay, so another important results was the management network. As I said, we created this management network so that this management network will serve as a steering committee, which will able to steer the affairs of the steer the implementation process of the Banamo Tanko project. Okay. So we also, another key results we have is the partnership and synergy. We also during the implementation of both resiliency and Banyamo Tanko project, we try to reach out to the important stakeholders like the National Environment Agency, like the Department of Fisheries. Okay, we engage them. We have series of discussion and consultation with them so that we can have a partnership with them, partnership and synergy with them. And of course, it has yielded some success. We are able to convince the National Environment Agency to extend the scope of their project. One of the project to establish one of the project they had, Jeff 6 project, which they established 2 marine protected areas. We were able to convince them to increase the extent of this proposed marine protected area to the seagrass beds. And luckily, in the Kato, before, those areas were not part of the protected area, but due to the our outreach and partnership, we were able to convince the project team to be to extend the MPA areas coverage to the where do we have the seagrasses bed. So now that's part of this, that part of the seagrasses is also under a formal protection because the marine protected area is already designated in the site. So the seagrasses coverage are part of the marine protected area. So but Gunjur and Bijol, those ones are part of the protected area already. Gunjur, where we have the seagrasses bed, is within the protected area. Bijol Island also is within the protected area. So the only site which was not part of the protected area was in Kato, but due to our partnership and synergy with other institutions, it is now part of the formal protection. We also, another key results is the capacity for universities and college students. We are brought together, we are brought to, to undergo this technical training workshop. We replicated the technical training workshop for the university and college students. And of course, I have to say again, 3 students from the University of the Gambia undertake their BSc dissertation on seagrasses. And currently, just 3 months ago, one of the students was employed by my department because she did her thesis on seagrasses, seagrasses of the Gambia, and by virtue of that, so the department was very impressed, and then currently she is employed with the department. Okay. So awareness raising and so on. So these are some of the key results of the BNT projects. So before the implementation of the Banyamu Tanko project, the Gambia, in terms of the seagrasses coverage, the Gambia was only having 9 hectares of seagrasses. We already recorded 9 hectares of seagrasses during the Resilient Sea project. So when we started the Banyamo Tanko project, we registered a very, a tremendous success. We were able to have up to a total area of 81.3 hectares of seagrasses. We are able to have from 9 hectares under the Resiliency project to 81.3 hectares of seagrasses. Currently, we have a seagrass bed up to of seagrasses. So the state of seagrasses in our pilot site in 2020, this was in the time of the Resiliency project. So the seagrass coverage in 2020 by the Department of Parks and Wildlife Management at Kadong, Gunjur, okay, and Bijoli Island. So you can see the chart before. right? At Gunjur location one, in Gunjur, in each of these sites, like Gunjur and Katong, we have several sub locations within the area. So most of many a time these locations are in patches. We'll have a patches here, patches there, patches there. So we name them location 1, location 2, location 3, according to the how we identify the site. So at Gunjur in location 1 in 2019, okay, in 2020 was the total coverage of that year was 19, and then location 2, 12, location 3 was 17. So at Bijol, it was the 21%, and Carton location 1 was 25, and location 2 was was 6% at the time. So this was the first after the 2020 monitoring. This was the amount, the seagrasses coverage in the Gambia. So in 2021, okay, this was the second phase of the Resilient Sea project. So in 2021, we realized that at location 1, there is an increment of 20, the coverage has increased to 26%, and in location 2 has increased to 29%, and then of course location 3 has significantly reduced to 20%. So in Bijol also, in 2021, the seagrass coverage has reduced, okay, to 14%, and carbon to 11%. So there are several factors which are responsible for the decline in the seagrasses coverage during the 2021 period. So maybe later when we talk about the challenges, we will highlight some of those challenges that were the contributing factor to the decline in the seagrasses coverage in some of these locations. Okay, so in 2022, this was the year we implemented the seagrasses restoration program in the Gambia. October 2021. Okay, October 2021 to December 2022 was the time was the project period of seagrasses restoration. So in Gunjuru, after the restoration, it has increased to 32%, and Bijol it has increased to 35%, and then Katong it has also increased to 33%. So you see that our restoration. Okay, our restoration has significantly contributed to the increase in the seagrasses coverage over the time period. Okay, so the challenges and the threat, one of the biggest challenges we face is as a result of the sea level rise. The sea level rise is severely impacting our coastline. When you go to our coastline, you will see the impact of sea level rise. So one of the impact of that is the coastal erosion. The sand dunes, the sea level rise is washing away the sand dune from the shore to the seagrasses bed. So this process, you know, it also lead to another phenomenon we call siltation, because when the sand dunes have been washed from the shore and then brought to the seagrass, it will increases the deposition of the silt or the sand particles on the seagrass bed, and then with time you'll see that all the seagrasses will be inundated by the sand. It will all be covered by the sand particle, and eventually this seagrasses bed will die. So this is more prominent in this phenomenon is more prominent in Gunjur and Katong. So this is why during the implementation of the seagrasses restoration, we have a particular focus at Gunjuru and Katong than Bijol. So another challenges that we within the settlement. So you'll see during the rainy season, the flood, the rainwater, the flood will come from the upland, and it will it will go to the downstream and then will be deposited along the dam. So due to the close proximity between the communities and the seagrasses side, so the flood water usually go and empty on the seagrasses bed. So when this happens, it will create a condition called the eutrophication. So you'll see that this eutrophication will result into the growth of the algae or the algal bloom, and then the algae and the other weeds will compete with the seagrasses for available nutrients, and they will also be competing for BOD and COD. That's the biological oxygen demand and the chemical oxygen demand. So another challenges that we are facing is the fishing activities. Okay, so there are, although there is not a direct fishing practice on the seagrasses meadow, but because most of our seagrasses areas are surrounded by the rocks, but due to the close proximity between the fish landing site and then the seagrasses bed, sometimes the fishermen or even the children from the community, they will go and then go to the seagrasses bed, and then that trampling on the seagrasses can lead to the degradation of the seagrasses bed. So this is why we captured fishing as one of the challenges that we have, because the Gunjur and Katong, with the proximity between the fish landing site and then the seagrasses bed is very, very close. So the fishermen sometimes go and then anchor around the seagrasses site, and eventually the people who are offloading the fish from the boat, they sometimes go into the seagrasses beds, and then when they do that, they will have an impact on the seagrass bed. So the fishermen are one of the key important stakeholders of the seagrasses conservation in the government. This is why anytime we are doing a training, anytime we are doing a seagrasses awareness training or capacity building training, we ensure that fishermen constitute the majority of the participants, because they are the ones that are in contact with the seagrasses day to day. Okay. So another challenges we have is the issue of pollution, because our coastline is also experiencing a proliferation of the industries, be it a tourism industry or this fish meal industry or processing industry along our coastline. There is a proliferation of this industry along the coastline. So there is a tendency that these peoples are doing indiscriminate dumping in the waters. So this indiscriminate dumping, along on the coastlines, most of the waste material, especially the solid waste material, they will be washed into the seagrasses bed. So when they wash into the seagrasses bed, they will eventually causes the death of the seagrasses bed. Especially when you go to places like Katong and Gunjur, you will see old net, plastic bags, bottles, and old clothes, old sponges, mattresses, and so on in these areas. So they will all be deposited on the seagrasses bed, and eventually will lead to the seagrass degradation in the area. Okay, so the processing industries also, we have some few processing industries also along the coastline. So there is a high speculation that these processing industries are also discharging their industrial wastewater into the water body. Okay, so this industrial wastewater, there is a question whether their industrial wastewater is fully treated before discharge or not. That is something which remain to be unknown, because not many people have access to this processing site. It is highly restricted. Okay, so there is a speculation that they are discharging their wastewaters into the sea. There was a time in 2021, early 2021, one of the lagoons around the Gunjur Bolonfenyo Community Conservation Area was infected, was highly infected with the this thing, algal bloom or invasive algal bloom, the growth of algae. So this growth of algae community peoples were claiming that is because the processing industry were discharging the industrial wastewater into the lagoons that lead to the high eutrophication of the site, and then as a result it lead to the algal bloom, and then so many unfortunate impact happens as a result of that. Okay, so as a result, the National Environment Agency has to put has to suspend the operation of the Golden Lane until they follow certain due processes. Until now, I think they are still under the closure. Okay, so in the conclusion, we need a diverse network of actors to make it functional to continue the growing in order to promote the ownership, in order to promote the seagrasses awareness, in order to promote the seagrass protection and conservation in as much as possible. And also, we have a series of threats, multiple threats that are affecting our efforts of seagrasses conservation, which include the pollution from the physical disturbance, fishing, and also coastal erosion. These are some of the challenges that is affecting our conservation effort in order to conserve the seagrasses conservation. And then moving forward, there is a need for sustainable financing in order to continue to replicate and upscale the seagrass restoration program in the West Africa and even in the other parts of the Africa region, because seagrasses, we know seagrass restoration, it is a new phenomenon in Africa. So if there is a sustainable financing, there is a need to replicate and upscale in other parts of the Africa. Okay, I think so far, thank you. Apologies again, I am currently at the hospital. Since Thursday, I am here. So many things are on my head at the moment. My father is lying on the sick bed.
Thank you, Omar, for all your effort and everything. We understand, and we are very grateful that you're here sharing your knowledge and sharing everything that you have done with this project, and we appreciate that all your effort and everything. So thank you so much for your effort and all the people's effort. There is one question. Are there plans to replicate this at other parts of West Africa, like Nigeria?
Yeah, that's the idea. We want to replicate and upscale this in other part of the Africa, but we are hopeful maybe if there is a third phase of resiliency, like Marco said, they are trying the ozone grant in order to have the third phase of resiliency. Perhaps if that call is successful, maybe Marco, they will consider the upscaling and replicating the seagrass restoration in other parts of West Africa, particularly the pilot site of the resiliency project. But even in the Gambia, we want to replicate it into the other pilot site. Of course, maybe if there is availability of funds, we will certainly.
That would be amazing, to replicate in other places. Marco?
Maybe
yes,
Marco
hi. Yeah, so as Omar said, the phase 3 of resiliency is hoping to continue the work in those 7 countries. But we are aware, through other projects like the Mamit Mwata project, we worked in Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Benin. We are aware of seagrass existing in the Gulf of Guinea, in that area of West Africa, right? So I'm sure in Nigeria, along the coast, there must be some seagrass, and yeah, provided the funding, we can get some funds, we would certainly be interested in collaborating with institutions there and working with the local communities and seeing if some research can be done there. Absolutely.
There is another question that we have over here. How can people start a similar project in other parts of the world? What do we need? I mean, to replicate in other places around the world?
Well, I think, replicating in another part of the world, it depends on the availability of the fund because, it cannot be done without the fund. If there is an funding, of course, it can be, replicate and then upscale in anywhere else in the world. Of course, we will always be available to try to support the other peoples to replicate the same program in their respective country. Yeah.
I would like to add something that it depends on the species that is in the area, because
Yeah.
I mean, the species that
Yeah,
you
and
have
the-
in West
and the
Africa,
species, of course, yes. Yes, and the species.
one perhaps will not be the same as in the Mediterranean or in Central America. For instance, in the Mediterranean, you can see
we during the implementation, we realized that, okay, we have two species in the Gambia, Simodosia and Halodil. We realized that Halodil is more responding, is more responding to restoration than Simodosia. Because Simodosia usually is found around the rocky areas. So before it will produce a new rhizome to grow, it is washed away or it is being removed by some other factors. But with Halodil, because it is always found around the substrate, if you restore in those areas, it quickly responds very fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. Marco, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just very quickly, as you said, it depends on the knowledge that exists in that area. So we would have to look at that area in particular that wants to start. If there's already local knowledge existing, then it's, as Omar says, you need funds, but you don't need so many, maybe the government can support the ministry and there's already some monitoring happening. The need for research is lower. If there's no knowledge, then yeah, you're going to need trainings to build capacity. You're going to have to probably bring some foreign trainers at least at the beginning. So it does entail more resources at the beginning. So it depends on the level of knowledge in the area. And then I'm seeing a question here about seagrass restoration specifically. And what I would like to say, of course, thank you, Omar, for sharing the experience in the Gambia. There's a lot of restoration projects in Northern Europe, like in Germany, Denmark, Sweden, etc. And the results are, it's not easy, so for me the focus has to be on conservation first. Let's conserve the seagrass, the extent that we have, the ecosystems that we already have, because restoring them, as Omar said, some species respond better to others. It depends on the so many factors, and it's not easy. The success rate is quite low at the moment, depending, of course, on the area and variations, local variations. But restoration is a difficult task. It's not a very easy one to undertake.
Yeah, just to add up to that, as you said, it is a very difficult task, and then it is very technical as well. So that's why what we did was to when we identify the causes of the degradation, we put a mechanism in order to reduce the rate of that degradation. And then one of the causes we identified during our assessment is the fishing. So this is why we engage the fishermen as much as possible and the community people, not to limit their interaction at the seagrasses bed. So if you know the causes of the seagrasses degradation in your area, you will be able to put in a mechanism in order to stop that, because passive restoration is more is easier than the active restoration per se, but it can go side by side together.
There is one person with a hand raised. I'm gonna let him allowed to talk. Please go ahead, Ziyad. You're muted. There you go. You're still muted. There you go.
Hello, everyone. Actually, I would like to thank the hostess and the organizer of this nice webinar. I am from Somalia in East Africa. I work with an organization called Somali Society for Marine Conservation, which is started a few years back. So actually, it's very motivating and very informative presentations, and we have learned a lot. And thank you for the wonderful presentations. I have a question. I've also written in the chat. I wanted to know how seagrass seeds are collected, and is it seasonal, or in what season of the year are they available? That's what I would like to ask the hosts, if I may.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much.
Omar, Marco, who would like to answer this question? It's about the seasonal, when is the best time to collect the seeds from the seagrasses?
Well, in our case here, we don't collect the seeds of the seagrasses. What we are doing vegetative propagation, if you like, or vegetative restoration. We just collect the shoot from the donor side, okay, with its rhizome intact, because if the rhizomes are not broken, it will hinder the process of restoration. So we just make sure that we collect the rhizome properly from the donor side, and then we go and then transplant it into the restoration site. But we are not doing a seed restoration. That is a bit technical, and it requires mechanical approaches.
Yeah, thanks, Omar. I'm not going to add anything on the seeds because I don't have the technical knowledge. But just hi, Abdul Qadir. It's very nice to see that there's some activity happening in Somalia, and I know about Kenya and Tanzania and down the coast to Mozambique. There's a lot of seagrass along those areas, so I'm sure there's some in Somalia, and so it's nice to see that there's a conservation society in Somalia working on those topics. Thank you for joining.
I see that we have no more questions. So I would like to thank again Marco and Omar for being able to participate and also to share your knowledge with all the participants. And I would like to invite you all to stay tuned with our webinars and upcoming events. So here is our social media and website for you to join our next episodes. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and have a great evening, afternoon, and day. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.